I am Seth Grantley, and welcome to the GKT Community Podcast, a podcast where we meet one of the inspirational people who share their knowledge and lived experience on globalknowledgetransfer.com. Welcome to the podcast, Peter.
Thanks. I'm really looking forward to the chat we're about to have. And
perhaps you could tell me a bit about when you're at school. What did you want to be and why?
When I was at school, I was predominantly interested in becoming a teacher and teaching PE at that time. But life always takes you on a different journey.
At that time, was there a view that you would get a job and hold that job for life? Or?
I think that's a fair comment. I think at that time, people valued longevity in employment. People valued, saw it as loyalty, that you were committed to the business. The value of what you could contribute to the business wasn't always that important. So that's all completely changed now because people look at your resume and look at you and they have those discussions around what you've learned, what you've done, what experiences you have in those different roles and what value you can add to their business.
If you were to go back to that time when you were leaving school, what advice would you give yourself with everything you've now learned?
Go with what gives you passion. Go with what you enjoy. Don't do something you're not going to enjoy doing. My daughter's a prime example. She's going to do architecture and archaeology and history and go overseas to study and then COVID happened and then she ended up doing law and she did well, but she didn't enjoy it. What's the point of doing something you're not going to enjoy? So she's back doing archaeology and history, and that's what my recommendation would be: do what you enjoy.
Moving into your career, can you give us 3 highlights that summarise and help us understand who you are professionally today or where you got to in your professional career?
I've always been involved in running predominantly transformational projects. So I guess you're talking about burning platforms. And at those times, a lot of that was around introduction of technology or cost efficiency measures. And they involve people's employment, people's lives. So because I'd say my key factors are restructure of businesses, and I did a bit of that at Stray Post. I've also had the opportunity to work in fairly large family companies and being involved with directors as a CEO. I've been involved in a lot of that type of work, and being a person that's managed large numbers of people and being on the floor is a skill set that you don't just acquire in any role. So I've been fortunate to have good people around me, and also fortunate to be in different circumstances that not everyone has to work through. We all know uncertainty is one of the big things in a changing workplace, and even today it's one of the key drivers of concern amongst the workforce. You might be spending more money or investing in assets to engage people. That's a great story. That's not as hard as downsizing a business or introducing technology and having an impact on those people. So being able to communicate effectively, have those conversations, show empathy and listen will help you build as a person.
What's your current professional situation and what do you love about where you're at?
Well, at my stage of life, I'm full of energy and I've got lots of things ahead of me. And obviously I'm keen to support and help people on their operational journey or business journey in understanding or helping them through situations or developing themselves. And that's what my energy is for at the moment.
Throughout your career, you've developed a lot of people. You've played a role in the development of many leaders. Can you talk about some of those experiences and how that makes you feel?
I take great pride in that. And throughout my career, always spoken to people, try and build their skill set to try and help them how to deal with conflict, how to deal in different situations. I'm very proud of the people that have worked for me, and obviously I still have a lot of strong relationships with a lot of my past managers and people that I've worked with, and I get it is pleasing, and it's good to talk to them because you get feedback about things that happened 20 years ago, and they say, do you remember this and you remember that, and you do, and then you think about, well, you get a different type of feedback as time moves on. So it's always good to hear.
What are the 3 key factors and contributors to your success?
The 3 key factors for me are resilience. Adaptability is something that I've been fortunate from the roles that I've had, and I think that's really helped me. The other is to remain disciplined, focused around what you do, self-training, belief about what you do. There's going to be a lot of people trying to take you off the course. There's going to be a lot of distractions. You build trust with people, and you remain focused, and you seek help when you need it. I was put in situations where I needed to build that trust with people, speak with them, develop those conversations, develop those skills fairly early on in different businesses. That carried with me. So it doesn't matter whether you're managing 1,000 people or you're managing 20, they're all part of that process. And that's helped me in my career.
You've played the role of mentor with so many people in your career. Once upon a time, you were also the newbie. Has someone played that role for you as your mentor, who that person was, what they meant, and the impact they had?
It's a really, really good question, Seth. Straight Post for me was probably the strongest learnings I had from a mentor situation. My direct manager was an excellent mentor because working in a large organisation, you need to understand how to navigate that. So that was a important thing for me to get my head around and understand the management styles, the way people managed in other areas of the business and the feedback that you receive, because in that business, feedback comes from everywhere, including the owner and et cetera. You've got an awareness about how you behave at that time, because we're not robots. We have good days, we have bad days. You need to go back and say, listen, I didn't really handle that conversation too well, or yes, I did. You need to have a self-awareness around your own behaviour.
You've joined globalknowledgetransfer.com. What do you hope to achieve and what lived experience do you hope to impart to others?
I've had a desire to do something like this for several years. My wife says to me, you should be out helping businesses and to help people not make the same mistakes. Everyone has a different way, from a behavioural point of view, from a strategy point of view, even commercial type environments. I've got a very strong background.
Our listeners, like us, are facing challenges in their lives. Can you give us a couple of examples of some real challenges that you face, some really difficult situations, and how you overcame those?
The three areas for me are uncertainty and work-life balance and conflict. Uncertainty is a key that you need to be aware of, and is part of everyone's life every day. Empathy is not always the easiest thing to have when you're driving change or being involved in a business and operational lead on a business. You're always trying to succeed and get something done. Work-life balance is a term used a lot today, but I'm probably looking at it more from a mental health perspective. You don't need to manage everything. You need to be able to have people manage. Finding the right people is a key. And conflict, well, that's something you deal with all the time, either in your personal life or industrially. But I think the one thing that I was able to do is always have a reasonably level head and act reasonably calmly in those situations without getting too upset with whatever else was going on.
Can you think of a time that there was uncertainty for you, that there was even conflict for you, and where that had an impact on you and you overcame it?
Sometimes cards are given to you that you're not always happy about. As they say, your best opportunities come from failure or a crisis or, a redundancy or whatever it may be. That's where you have to call on your own skills and your own ability, to network, to understand, to find what drives you and what you'd like to do. You just need to work through the process and you can be guided on the way.
We ask all of our people that come on our podcast, there was 3 people that you could spend an hour with. They can be dead or alive. Who are they and why?
We lost our son 3.5 years ago to suicide, 24, just before his 25th birthday. I'd love to have an hour with him, to talk to him again. I'd like to have that conversation, like you always said, and, it was part of our lives. The thoughts that the world would be a better place without this person who's made that decision, and how that people get there probably never be resolved, but it'd be nice just to have an hour for the family to talk to him. The other one would be Nelson Mandela. I think as a leader, resilient, a listener, very extremely interesting person. You can learn so much. I think it'd be really interesting to hear what he had to say about how he perceives other people and what he sees that he's met. And I think I guess the last one would be Robin Williams, because what a great storyteller and what a funny person, and it'd be just be great at the dinner table just to have him there. So they'd probably be 3 people for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was very personal. So I appreciate it, Peter. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, that's the end of our questions for today's podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, Peter.
Thanks, Seth. I really enjoyed it, and it's always good to have a chat.
That is all we have time for today. Thanks to our guest and our sponsor, globalknowledgetransfer.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be sure to meet more inspirational individuals from the Global Knowledge Transfer community in future episodes.